Thank you. And if anybody wants to, share this with friends or watch it again, or you can kind of fast forward things and not hear everything, but just look at the sessions that you're interested in and the sections you're interested in. I do have a YouTube channel, and I have the recordings uploaded there along with some other videos, things like market reports and things like that, that you can go through. And I did put a link to the YouTube channel in their invitation note, and you can always go back and watch them or send it, to somebody who might be interested in the information after the fact. Well, thanks for joining this afternoon. Here's my cheesy joke today. So, I haven't gone to the gym in a while, and I was talking to the doctor the other day, and he said, well, you really should get back to working out. So I went back to the fitness club and decided to take an aerobics class. And, I bent, I twisted, I went up and down and in and out, up and down, perspired for an hour. It was a great workout. But by the time I got that sports bra on, the class was over.
Okay, I gotta say that's so true.
It's true, isn't it? It's true. Especially if you try and put one of those on after a shower, man. There's just something.
Yeah, that's right.
Stretch anyway. So today we have Claire joining us.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Claire.
Claire Platt owns a business where she helps people through the decluttering process. She does decluttering and organizing for people that are not doing downsizing as well. But I think a lot of her business is helping people and their families through the decluttering, the downsizing, everything it takes. And she's even traveled internationally to help people. So
I have.
She's got lots of stuff to share with us today. And in particular, she's got some tips and tricks for a couple of people that had some questions on.
So it's an international problem.
It is. Oh, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Don't feel so alone then.
No, you're not alone. You're not alone. So most of you had joined us on the other sessions. So we talked about where to start. We did the housing options and virtual property tours and preparing your home for a sale, where Claire was not feeling well. So we're doing the dealing with your belongings now. And it's something people should, I think about, even if you're not planning to sell a house, because we've accumulated a lot of stuff in these big houses over the years. And as a matter of fact, I've read some stats where they say the baby boomer type generation where we're in has the most accumulation of material possessions ever. So it's a big issue with lots of people. After this session, I am going to do something we haven't done before, and that is a 30-day decluttering challenge. With daily reminders of tips and tricks for you to go through it and just give yourself little checklists and nibble away at the problem instead of having to tackle it all at once. So I'll be sending out a quick little email with some hints and tips starting Monday for 30 days. I'll just do on the weekday, and then everybody can hopefully get started on the areas of their house that need some work. And then I'm going to follow this up in September or so. I don't have a date yet, with a community shredding event where you can set aside your old bills and receipts and financial statements that have been accumulating, bring them to this event. I'll probably ask for a donation to a local charity, and then they bring a truck and they shred them on site, and it's all done in a secure way, and you don't have to worry about it, and you can bring as many boxes as you want.
I'm in.
I know. I'm pretty good with mine. I've been pretty good with mine, so I don't have a lot of that, but lots of people do. So today is the dealing with your stuff day in terms of our plan. And I had a quiz set up, but I didn't set it up, so I'm going to skip that. So this is what gets a lot of people stuck. Dealing with your belongings that accumulate. And in this picture, this is really indicative of a lot of things that I see when I go help people through this process in selling their house. Christmas decorations, that's a big one. Little gifts that have accumulated over the years, like candles and things like that. And so working with people, I've developed my own laws of stuff. And these, I'm going to say, will change over time as I come up with new and interesting things. So here are my laws of stuff. that if it's yours, it's stuff. If it's theirs, it's junk.
Touche.
Yeah. I will say 100%, it's probably not worth what you think it's worth. There's, I think, very few times I've come across something and it's like an antiques roadshow type situation where it's incredibly valuable and rare piece of stuff that you've accumulated. I would say everybody's got a guilty secret, whether it's taking those little sugar packets from a restaurant or a couple of other things I'm going to show you. There's probably a drawer someplace where you were saving it for very important occasions that have not arisen. And everybody's got those guilty secrets.
The value thing is very true in that I'm part of a neighborhood program in Pickering, and they have a for sale page, and the prices that they're asking are like twice what you would pay at Goodwill. So obviously people think that their belongings are jewelry.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
I see it all the time.
And people attribute a value to it because it's theirs. So they add that emotional price tag to it. I'm going to say if it was free or given to you secondhand to start with, and you've had it for 20 years, it's unlikely to have increased in value over that time. And finally, if you love it, cherish it, and attribute value to it, most likely your kids will hate it and they don't want it. Claire, do you have any laws that you've found over time that?
Yes, if you can't see it, you're not using it.
Good.
The other thing is if you've stuffed it in the basement in a cold, moldy place, it's lost all its value. So if it's important, take care of it.
Okay, so condition is really important.
Yeah, I cleared out an estate, and the nephew kept saying, you're going to find some really incredible art. So I go down to the basement and I dig through everything that's there, and there's this beautiful piece of art that was by someone relatively famous, that had a hole in it and water damage.
Oh, yeah.
So he didn't take care of that, what could have been, maybe worth, $100 or $2, right? Anyway.
Yeah. And these are some things I found recently. These are actual pictures that I've taken, some of them, of what I've found in homes that are people's guilty secrets. So the first one is a random box of electric cords.
Oh, cords. Okay.
Okay, cords and plugs. Also, people tend to keep extension cords. And this is hard to see from this box. It was in a crawl space of a house I helped clear out. Claire helped me with this particular house. It's a Rubbermaid container that was probably 18 inches tall. And this was half full of cords. And you wouldn't believe how heavy a Rubbermaid container of cords can be digging it out of a crawl space. It was crazy. Like the homeowners, there's no way they could have even gotten in there to see it was there, let alone use any of these things. Gone. Lots of people are very good at clearing out closets full of clothes, but they don't take the hangers out. And so there are lots and lots of empty hangers. And you can donate these, I think, but generally
you can donate them, but what happens is they get overrun with donated hangers too.
hangers, yeah.
I recommend that the not the plastic, but the metal hangers, you just recycle like with a scrap metal guy.
Yeah, perfect. This house had lots of empty closets, but they were full of hangers. So there was huge bins of hangers. Spices that kind of look like this. You have no idea where it was. They do not hold their value. They do not hold their value as an ingredient in recipes, get rid of them.
Yeah, well, and spices really are only good for 3 months. You're supposed to get rid of them within 3 months
Yeah.
because they lose their potency and their taste.
And they take up, some of the jars of spices are quite big and bulky and take up a lot of room in your cupboard.
Yeah, and you don't need any spices that big.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a marketing ploy.
Yeah, exactly. I tell my husband to stop buying spices at Costco.
Yeah.
Containers are just too huge. Christmas decorations. Lots of people went crazy over Christmas and have scaled back on their decorations. It's harder for them to put them up and take them down and everything. So a lot of people, and they've been given them as gifts over the years, right? So there's some of them have a lot of sentimental value, but go through your Christmas decorations every once in a while and take out the ones that you really love that have some sentimental issues with you. And then the other ones you can donate. But be careful when you donate them. It's easier or in an estate sale, it's easier to get rid of them at a certain time in the year, because if you have a sale at Christmas in January, it's harder to get rid of the Christmas decorations after the season's over, right, Claire?
Yep.
Yeah. And the last one is samples of personal grooming products. So one of the houses I cleared out at the beginning of the year, every time they'd gone to the dentist, they had gotten a little bag that had a toothbrush, a little toothpaste, and floss, and they had 3 drawers full of them. Now, I donated those. There was a local charity that was either affiliated with a hospital or a shelter that collected the personal grooming products. They didn't have shampoo samples, but if the shampoo samples are, able to be used because they have a shelf life, you can let me know if you've got a bunch of those hanging around. I won't tell anybody, but I will get in touch with the lady in West Rouge that collects them for shelters and shelter use, and I can donate them.
Duncan's Church does that.
Yeah, a church can do it too, but lots of people save them from trips, right? So you have all these sample bottles that you've got, or the stuff from the dentist too. These particular people just happen to keep all the dental supplies.
We collect them and then they go to the people staying at the Lido Hotel, the motel.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, more concerns. In some cases, you're the family archivist. So everybody has, because you maybe have a large home, or maybe because you were the one that said yes, that you might be your kid's storage unit, and the family is promised to come and go through the stuff and take the things that they want, but they've never done it. That happens quite a bit. And then or sometimes people have collections and want to find an appreciative recipient to it. So I cleared out a house in the spring. Claire did the content sale, but these particular people had collections of old electronics, and the entire basement was a storage unit for electronics. So they took a while to go through everything and find good homes for it. But once we started to make progress on the upstairs, the downstairs went a lot more quickly when people started to see the progress of everything. So,
and just to add to that, the electronics, they actually donated to the Electronics Recycling Association, which I'll talk a bit about, but it's an excellent organization in Scarborough that will take your old electronics, refurbish them, wipe them clean so there are no security issues, and then donate them to schools and community centers and things like that. So it's a really great organization.
Yeah,
Sorry,
and
Sue.
they came and picked them up.
Yeah, they came and picked them up.
Because you'll find a lot of places don't have the resources to pick things up, and that's a big question that a lot of people have. They don't have the ability to take it to donate. They need it picked up, so they pick up.
Yeah.
And they go through it to make sure they're only taking the stuff that's got some value to it. Okay, so that's what I have found in my help with people going through these processes. And of course, I bring Claire in a lot of cases to help with that, in terms of managing it, helping people pack, helping people sort through, and helping people sell their items. So Claire is now going to take over and share her secrets. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And Claire, you can share yours. Hang on one second, because I have to stop my share. Okay, so now you should be able to
Okay,
put
so
your.
I'm gonna share my screen.
Oh, hi.
There we go. Okay,
Okay,
and I'm going to just mute myself.
there we go. Okay, can everybody see this screen?
Yes.
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 Okay, great. So I'm gonna kind of do some introductory things, and then I'm gonna get into the meat and potatoes of what to do with your stuff. But as I'm going along, please feel free to ask a question. You know, no judgment, and no question is stupid. Okay. All right. So my company is called The Next Step Forward, and with compassion, we partner with you to declutter and organize, downsize or estate clear. I've done a lot of that over the past little while. Manage a move from start to finish, or help you maximize your home's potential and reduce your stress, because that's really what it's all about. So what is decluttering all about? People are always wondering, and basically it's balancing what you need, want, and love with the space you have to help you reduce your stress and free up your time. The more stuff you have, the longer it takes to clean your house, for example. So if you have a space that's easy to clean, you're already gaining some time. So why declutter? I'm going to move this over because it's blocked for me. So it's to make your space more functional and provide easy access to your day-to-day items. If you can't see it, you're not using it. To store and protect your special items. So again, it's talking about taking care of the stuff that's meaningful and important. To sell your house faster, decluttering and removing personal items. People want to be able to imagine themselves in your home if you're selling it. And if you have a lot of family photos or a lot of religious iconography, people tend not to be able to imagine themselves. So keeping it as neutral as you can really helps. And to make you feel good. Studies show that decluttering provides physical and emotional health benefits for all kinds of reasons. That's a whole other discussion, but it definitely does help for sure. So one of the things I wanted to talk a bit about was estate clearing, and just to kind of give you some high level. So we will work with you to clear an estate of unwanted items. We will pack and store or move your sentimental items. We will help you donate, dispose, keep, and find solutions for your items. We will help you sell items, and we can get an estate, a home ready for sale or rent. So one of the things people always say to me is, why would I hire you? My kids will help me. And that's sometimes true. But they're busy, they have full-time jobs often, and maybe they have young kids or other commitments. So it is often a good idea to hire someone, because not only do you get to choose your own timeline, but it's always good to have a fresh perspective as well. And there isn't the family conflict that sometimes happen. I was helping a woman the other day, and her daughter came in and just said, just throw it out, Mom, just throw it out. And the mother really liked that one particular thing and wanted to make sure that it went to someone who would appreciate it. But her daughter didn't have the patience. She came on the Saturday, she only had 2 hours, and she just thought, let's just get it done. But her mother needed more time to go through it. So I think that's another thing that can help with hiring somebody, and not necessarily having your family do it. And, you know, you're empowered to make your own decisions and participate in the process instead of having it done to you. And I think that really is one of the biggest things. And also just organizing your house as it is to reap the benefits of enjoying a functional, organized space. And you don't have to do it alone.
Yeah. And can I interject?
Sure.
If Claire and I are working with people moving to a much smaller space, we also help them plan that space in terms of what furniture will fit in the new space, where it can go, so you feel at home right away and things are organized for you, because that's stressful enough, and we want to make sure you're taken care of start to finish.
Right. So another question I get asked all the time is why start now? And the reason is it's for you, so that you can take the time to review your most precious items, because it's a process. It doesn't happen in one day, you know. So if you start now and do little by little, it's all good. Being clear about where your items go and to whom provides you personal satisfaction and helps your family in the long run. I mean, you don't have to you know, give it to them now, but they know where you want it to go, you know, when you move to a smaller home or however that's going to happen. Decluttering and getting rid of things you don't want or need will allow you to enjoy your space right now. And I think people forget that it's all about enjoying the space you live in. So not having the clutter that's there. I had a client who had this nice, big, huge condo, but he had covered every single wall from top to bottom with family photos and certificates. So you walked into the space and you were automatically stressed out because there was so much going on. We took all those down and he put 3 pictures on each wall. And for the first time in 12 years, he ate in his dining room because he hated being there. It was so busy. So it just goes to show you that clutter can really open up a space, or getting rid of clutter, sorry, can open up a space for you. And participating in the process gives you a sense of satisfaction and helps with your emotional and health benefits right now. And really, I know you're probably thinking, well, you know, I'm fine where I am, and you probably are. But there are some people that have way too much stuff, and I work with them a lot. So another question, do I have to get rid of everything? And the answer is no. You don't have to get rid of everything, but you have to decide how much space you want to dedicate to one thing. For example, my son, he's in his 30s now, but I kept a couple of his baby things, but I have a box that's, you know, this wide and this tall, that I've said to myself, okay, for his baby stuff, I'm keeping it in there, and that's as much space as I'm going to dedicate to it. And now he looks at it and he's not thinking, oh my God, that's so much stuff. He's like, oh, that's so cute, Mom, because it's not too much, right? Now my photos are another story, but all right, so where to start? Like, again, I'm answering for you all the questions that I have gotten over the 6 years I've been in business. I always say that these are the 3 places that are the easiest place to start. Always start in an area that doesn't have a lot of emotional connection. And I love starting under the kitchen sink or the bathroom sink, because you can bet there are lotions, potions, and motions that have been there for many years and need to get out of there. All your cleaning products, as well as your, face creams and things, they all have expiry dates. Even rubbing alcohol has expiry dates now, because they lose their efficacy after a certain amount of time. So you want to make sure that you don't have that hanging around for years and years and years. Even your shampoos now, you'll notice they all have expiry dates because they lose their efficacy and they just aren't any good anymore, and you shouldn't be keeping them around. The front hall closet, again, is another great space to start because you don't have a huge emotional connection there. And you can bet you have a lot of mateless mitts and worn out scarves that have seen better days, and you can donate them. Value Village, for example, will take textiles and they will recycle the textiles. So not only will they take clothes to, resell, but they will take textiles and recycle the textiles. And then the spare bedroom, of course, which usually is a catch-all for all kinds of things, is also a good place to start. So, just, start little and build up from there. Any questions? No. Okay, so you're decluttering. What do you do with all the things that you have? So I'm going to go through these different areas. And again, you can ask any questions. So donate, Value Village, Salvation Army. I don't know if anybody's heard of New Circles, but New Circles is a really great organization that helps people that are newcomers to Canada, as well as people getting back on their feet. And what they've done, which I really like, is they've set their environment up like a retail store, so that even though everything is free, so that people can choose what they want. And one of the things I like about that is, you have a bit of pride of ownership if you've chosen something yourself instead of someone just saying, here, take this, right? You can donate to community centers, hospitals, schools, shelters, Second Life Books. This is a great organization, and what they do, Second Life Books, is they take your books, they pick them up for free, and then they will donate 80% to children's book banks, women's shelters, and correctional facilities. And you sell the actual other 20% in order to fund the free pickup and things like that. Sorry. And of course, you've got Habitat for Humanity and Furniture Bank for your furniture. Okay, so what to donate? So you can donate furniture, books, magazines, clothing, textiles, lamps, art, unopened gift items. Now, I wanted to talk a bit about the magazines. I have seen people have thousands of National Geographic magazines, and they are really hard to get rid of. So I have a few strategies for magazines that I've been using over the past few years. And one of them is when I go to the doctor's or dentist's office, many years ago, the doctor's office and the dentist's office used to have magazines that you could browse through. I don't know about your doctors or dentists, but that has gone by the wayside. So that when you're sitting waiting, you're just sitting and waiting. So I always bring a couple of magazines with me, and then I leave them there when I go. And when I go back, I always see people reading the magazines that I left, as long as there's no name on it. I do that with different, places where there's a lot of waiting going on. The other thing is you can talk to schools who need magazines for their art projects, and community centers the same way. The other thing is long-term care facilities might be interested in some magazines. Now they don't want you to give them thousands, but they might take a few, and even libraries. So the trick is to do some research to find out where you can donate magazines. And it might be a pretty slow process because again, they're hard to get rid of, but these are some ideas for you. Okay, what not to donate. So household products. So don't donate, half a bottle of Murphy's oil soap or anything like that. Don't donate your garbage. I know that some people donate stuff that is broken, and it goes in the garbage. It doesn't go old paint, children's toys, stuffed animals, unless they're new and unopened, you cannot donate them. Any questions about donations?
I don't think they take baby items either in a lot of cases, do they?
Right, that's true.
Safety stuff, like other than toys, like,
Yeah.
One
Yeah.
more idea is well, actually, if they want to get rid of the old paint, is the environment days
Yes.
that are held by the counselors. I sent a lot of old stuff like that, and at least they will take it.
Yes, they will. And I often, when I'm clearing out a house, I will take it right to the dump for
Oh,
my
of course,
clients.
that's where they take it to. Yes, okay.
Yeah, so absolutely. And you can always do special pickups, right?
Yes, I heard of something called the toxic taxi run by the city now that will come and pick up your hazardous waste materials.
That's right. And you do that through 311.
Yeah.
I put my old artificial Christmas tree out on the boulevard, and it only took 3 days. And it's gone to a new home.
Right.
Yeah.
So Arlene, I'm a big fan of doing that. I know that lots of my customers don't want to do that. I don't know why. I do it all the time. I think it's a great idea. I think that one of the neat things about Toronto is that there's a community of people that help each other out and take things from the curb and recycle and refurbish. So I think it's a great idea. And as long as you're into it, absolutely. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah. On Instagram, there's a few accounts that are called Stooping Toronto, and they have people that post pictures of things that are left by the curb that are in good shape, and then somebody will come along and pick it up.
Yeah.
Well, it's there till the next garbage pickup day. So
Yeah.
That's right. So it's a win-win, right? So recycling. So Staples Canada, as we know, they take, what do you call it? Printer ink, but they also take pens. So if you have a bunch of pens that you are hanging around, don't throw them in the garbage because they're bad for the landfill. You can take them to Staples and dump them. They also take batteries as well. And I know that IKEA takes light bulbs. CNIB has an excellent program called Phone It Forward. And you can take your old phones that are doing nothing and give it to them. They will wipe them clean and refurbish them for people with vision issues and put accessible programs on them. So that's really excellent. We did talk about the Electronics Recycling Association. For big jobs, they will come and pick up the items, but again, they also wipe everything clean so that there are no security issues, and they refurbish them and donate them to local communities. The city pickup we just talked about, that's 311, and scrap metal pickup. Now, I am a fan of the scrap metal pickup, and there are all kinds of organizations that will come and pick up the scrap metal for free. I mean, they're usually going to sell it for the weight, but it's out of your hands. And it's usually entrepreneurs who do that kind of thing on a regular basis. So I'm a fan of that because, again, it keeps it right out of the landfill instead of going, because if the city picks it up, they just put it in the garbage. They don't take it to resell or anything. So I'm a big fan of doing that. So Dispose, I'm going to take a drink here. So there are many ways to dispose of your stuff. Just Junk is a company I use, and the reason I use them is because they will donate things for you. They will, pick up your couches and whatever, and they take it back to their warehouse, and they will sort through and they will donate everything they can. Some other companies that I've worked with say they do that, but I know that they don't. But I do know that Just Junk does. So I use them a lot. There's also the guys that bring bins. Netto Disposal is a place I use because they're reasonably priced. They'll charge $200 and it will stay, you keep the bin for a week, and then they charge whatever the weight is at the dump, but it's a lot less expensive than other places. Dumpster in a bag. You can get the bags from Home Depot and Lowe's and probably other places. You fill them up, then you schedule a pickup within 3 to 5 days of that. So that's a really good idea because that's when it's not a huge amount. And then of course, 311 special pickup.
Just as an aside, I saw an ad that Best Buy was actually giving, if you brought an old, like a computer or something, they would give you a small amount for that computer, again, towards a new computer.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's a good idea.
I don't know if it's still on, but it was on in the last few months.
Okay, that's good to know. I'm going to check that out because it's always, good to have that kind of info in your back pocket.
Yeah.
Well, I think it gives an incentive, even if you think you're just going to get $10.
Yeah, that's right.
And I will tell you that those bin companies, or what Claire has suggested, are way, way less than 1-800-GET-JUNK. It's for a truck from them, you're going to have to pay $800-900. You could get two large bins of stuff for that taken away.
Yeah. The problem with that, not the problem, the only thing with that is that you have to put the stuff in the bin yourself.
You have to provide the labor, yeah.
Yeah, so sometimes putting a couch in by yourself is a little harder. So, but I mean, it's a great idea. I'm totally agree. I use bins more often than I use Just Junk.
Yeah.
Okay, so what if you have some really nice things that you want to send to a good home, and you don't just want to donate? Well, you've got some options to sell. So you can use online auctions, Max Sold or Transition Squad. I myself use Max Sold on a regular basis. I've done about 50 auctions. I've done a number for Sue and her clients as well. If it is fine art, like fine, original art or high-end furniture or whatever, you can look at A.H. Wilkins, which is local to Toronto, or something like Sotheby's, because what they do is they will look at it and make an assessment, and then if it's the kind of thing that they want, then you can get the item there and they'll sell it in one of their auctions for you. So again, you just have to do a little research about what you want. Then you've got consignment stores, antique stores, and record stores that you can sell your items to. And I'll talk a bit more about the records because I know someone, I think it was Peter and Kay, you guys were asking about the vinyl. So yes. We'll talk a bit about that coming up. But there are record stores out there like COPS, for example, KOPS, which will buy your records for you. And so.
And I think going back to what you said at the beginning, condition is really important.
Oh,
with vinyl and
condition is
record.
very important. Very. If there's any warping, forget it. And if there are a lot of scratches, some scratches are fine, but a lot of scratches, forget it. So
Drawing card for records. I noticed that in the ads in the Saturday paper, there's always someone who wants to buy them.
yep. So I sell a lot of records, LPs on MaxSold when I do them, but the hot sellers are the 1960s and 1970s rock and roll.
Oh, okay.
That's what people want to buy. That's what sells. So the Ray Conniff singers, not so much.
Not so much. Okay.
But certainly I see there's a bit of a market for, the Mills Brothers, some of the older jazz. So it's runs the gamut, but the hot ticket items are 60s and 70s rock and roll.
Thank you.
Okay, so here's a list of what sells fairly well on MaxSold in my experience. Tools, power tools, or any kind of tools sell really, really well. As I said, LPs, 60s and 70s, low profile furniture. People are moving into smaller spaces. They don't have the big homes like MaxSold. I always say that you've got a number of different types of audiences for MaxSold. So you have young couples just starting out looking for nice things that aren't going to cost them an arm and a leg. And they're looking for the low profile furniture. You have artisans looking to buy, things that they can use in their artwork. You have resellers. So you have people that will buy some of the furniture and totally refurbish it and then resell it. And you have collectors. Royal Daltons and things like that have lost their value. Even Yadro and some of the other like Hummel figurines, they have lost their value, but there are still collectors out there. They will buy them. They just won't pay what you probably paid for them. Small appliances, again, for the young people starting out or even the university students, they're looking for some of the small appliances. Stereo equipment, as if it's in working condition, sells very well. Vintage costume jewelry sells. One of the huge things that I'm a little bit amazed about is the vintage Corningware ware. I don't know if you guys know the cornflower blue pattern. That sells like crazy. I have people saying, "Oh, I've been looking for this piece for the past 3 years," and I'm thinking, "Wow, my mom threw it out." So and anything 60s, 70s, lava lamps and vases from that era. Sorry, those kinds of things sell. So now there's never any guarantee, and if you care about, if you say in your head, I want $500 for that thing, then don't put it on MaxSold. You need to sell that privately or go to the fine art auction houses, because there's no guarantee. These are auctions and there's no guarantee how much you're going to get for it. So I always say, if you care about what you're going to get, don't put it on.
And there's no reserve on the MaxSold. What about
There's
the
no
other,
reserve.
what about the other ones you were talking about?
Sorry.
The other auction?
Yeah.
Do they have?
Yeah, Transition Squad.
Yeah.
There is an opportunity to put a reserve bid on that, and you don't have to have as many items as you do. So I always recommend 50 to 100 items for MaxSold, because then that gives you good traffic. But Transition Squad charges a little bit more for their service. MaxSold charges 30%, the Transition Squad charges 35%, but they're not as easy to use as Max Sold, which is why I don't use them as much. I just find that their process takes me much longer to do than the Max Sold one does.
Yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to talk a bit about the definitions, which when I first saw this, I thought it was very interesting. So an antique is 100 years old or more. So if you have something for 50 years old, it's not an antique. I think that people often thought it's 50 years old, it's starting to be in an antique territory, and it isn't really. A collectible is less than 100 years old, but it is something that, you know, lots of people collect. I know that people collected the plates for a long time and the Royal Dalton. And again, collectors, you know, the market has changed and the whole area has changed. Now, big sellers are things like NASCAR model cars. They are big sellers. So
what about kids' toys from like the 50s, 60s, 70s?
yeah, they sell. And again, condition. You know, if everything's there and it's in good condition, you can usually get a decent amount. I have noticed that puzzles and things like that during the pandemic sold really well because people were looking for things to do at home or bring to the cottage. So again, you know, depends on what it is. It's it changes too, right? Every year, something that was high last year is lower and vice versa. So it's interesting to watch the market. Retro is considered 1950 to 1959. Vintage, 1960 to 1979. Art Deco, it's 1920s, 1930s. Modern, late 19th century, and Art Nouveau, 1890 to 1910. Now, the modern and the Art Nouveau were things that I had no idea. I thought modern furniture was going to be the 1950s. But I was wrong, obviously. But I just think it's a good idea to know and to keep this in mind if you're ever looking to sell things that, you know, are usually furniture or collectible items, that it's always good to have this information, and it's good to know so that when you're describing it, you can attract the right audience.
Yeah. The other thing I'm going to throw in, because Guildwood in our area seems to be the kind of hub of a lot of this style of furniture, is what's called mid-century modern, which would be the Danish modern teak style
Right.
furniture. Some of it's not teak, some of it's walnut. That can be extremely collectible depending on what it is. And there are dealers in Toronto that deal with that separately that I've sold some pieces with, that you would get more money probably than on Max Sold. So
Although, so that's a really good point, Sue. And I know that I have sold teak tables and desks and things like that for like $600 or
yeah,
whatever.
okay, so they get
So they get the money because there are people out there looking specifically for that,
okay.
and they will they'll bid against each other. So, but you know, sometimes. So this is where you find the balance, right? Like sometimes dealers won't give you as much as you could possibly get at an auction. Like I sold a mid-century modern leather tufted chair that was, it's almost like a potato chip shape. And we sold that on Max Sold for $450. And a dealer only wanted to give the client 150.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's good.
it's-
That's good to know. Yeah. Because it's a lot harder to get the dealer to come and look at it and everything. It's more work.
right. And there are things you can do, you know, description is a big deal. And when I do an auction, I say, okay, when you're advertising, because Max Sold does a push advertising to their database of about 30,000 people across Ontario. Although, you know, anybody from all over North America can look, but they do a push, but you get to choose 4 pictures. That can be the upfront one. And if you put the good stuff up front, then you're going to get more traffic. So it's a learning thing as you're going along too, right? So, all right. So you want to keep your stuff. You want to keep your day-to-day items and set them up so that you have a warm, inviting atmosphere that is free of clutter and a joy to be in. Decide about your special items, what you want to keep or give away, and put them somewhere that is easily accessible, that is labeled, and that you, you know, want people to deal with. So I was working with a wonderful woman. She was in her late 80s and had decided, okay, she was still very fit and with it. She decided, okay, you know, it's time. I don't want to leave a whole bunch of stuff for my daughter, so I want to get this organized. So what she did, or what we did together, was she had a box of love letters that she wanted to keep, but she didn't necessarily want her children to go through it or her daughter to go through it. So what she did was she labeled it good to dispose, so that when her daughter saw it, she could just put it right in disposal. And she told her, you know, this you don't have to look at, you can just get rid of it. And I thought that was so smart and such a good idea, because she didn't really want her daughter looking at that. But she wanted to be able to look at them whenever she wanted to. So it was a good idea just to label it with what she wanted to have done with it. And then there was no question, right? So I thought it was such a smart idea. And again, if you can't see it, you're not using it. So anything that you want to use regularly, put in an accessible place. And for your special items, make sure that they are in places that are clean and not moldy, and that you can access them if you want, and that they're well labeled. Okay, any questions? Because that's it for me.
Oh, you were going to talk about books for Peter and Kay.
Yes, please.
Oh, I did talk about books, and that's Second Life books, right?
Well, more about, we have some that, I guess the Max auction house would be better. There are some that are valuable. rather than
Okay,
donating them to strangers.
I see. So what kind of books are they?
There were hardcover magazines in the 50s, Horizon, American Heritage, a couple of others. An old set of Encyclopedia Britannica, which is valuable more so than intermediate ones. Some other sets of books.
So I
Which-
will tell you that the Encyclopedia Britannica don't sell very well. But the hardcover magazines will sell on a place like Max Sold or Transition Squad. The any first edition books that you have, I would take to a dealer and get them to appraise them.
Good.
And I think that would be my recommendation. Even with the Encyclopedia Britannica, I might talk to a dealer and of collectible books and see what they thought as far as the price. I have tried to sell some of the encyclopedia books, and unfortunately nobody's interested. I used to do my projects using those Encyclopedia Britannica books, but there is not a lot of demand, and there are a lot of them out there, and that's part of the issue, is that a lot of people still have their Encyclopedia Britannica, and so it's not like, so there's a bit of a glut in the market because people aren't using them anymore either, right?
Our Britannica is kind of special because it's the edition that Merlin had in Once and Future King.
Oh,
The famous 14th.
wow. Well, then I would definitely not put something like that on Max Sold. I would take them to a dealer and I would get them to appraise them for sure, so that you could, know how to market them and what kind of money to expect.
And
Are
they'll,
there any book dealers in Toronto whom you particularly favor?
You know what? I have not dealt with a lot, but let me do some research and I will send Sue, some names for you to take a look at. I do have some art appraisers that I work with that I get to appraise some art if I'm unsure. So let me do some research because it's always good for me to know, and then I can provide that to Sue and she can get it to you guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
and
No
and do a lot
problem.
of the appraisers.
I have photographs.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Oh, I have kind of a corny idea for photographs.
Oh, okay. Oh, I forgot photos. Yeah, go ahead.
Because nobody wants even their baby photos or albums.
Mhm.
I've been taking baby pictures and even pictures from 10 years ago of children and people that I know, and I've been making birthday cards out of them. You can buy the cards in a package, the blank ones from Michael's, and it's quite interesting, the response from people who may not have ever seen the photo or have seen it and forgot about it, or it's just a nice memory to them. And you put it on a card and send it to them
I
for
think
their
that's
birthday.
a great idea. I love it.
It doesn't need very much time or
Yeah,
money.
exactly. And then it gets them out the door. The other thing that I've done with clients is they've taken photos and put them in a card and sent them to that old friend that they haven't spoken to or been in touch with for 10 years, and it reconnected with them through those photos. So that works well. The other thing that I've done with photos is with them to different people after you've done, you've kind of culled the herd of the photos, because you're right, not everybody wants them. My son's always looking at me and says, I don't want them, Mom. So I've kept, a few, and I put a couple in in a book for him. But the other thing that is really important for photos, especially if you are going to leave them for people, is you have to make sure you note somewhere who's who in the zoo. Because if your children are looking at your photos and they have no idea who it is, that's not going to mean anything. But if they, turn it over and see that was great grandma in, 1854 with blah, 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 that's going to be more meaningful. So, and I think that's important to make sure that if you're going to give photos to people, make sure you know who it is, and so that you can tell them who it is and write it down.
I always put the date on the children's photographs of, like their first day at school, and I put the date on it. And
that's a good idea. But I have lots of photos that my parents had that I have no idea who they are.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
I would have loved to have known that, right? Because it would be more meaningful,
Yeah.
You're quite right. The person and the date, yeah.
right?
When I
Sue, did you
sorted
have
my
something?
mom's- When I sorted my mom's, I only kept the ones where we knew who they were, and then I kept a kind of a duplicate of each, and one box is for each kid, but I wrote on the back.
Yeah, so that's perfect, right? And it is a good way to reconnect with some old friends too. I've seen that happen a lot, and that's kind of fun, right?
I didn't think of that, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'm going to stop sharing. Sue, do you want to?
Yeah.
Want to get back?
The only other last thing I wanted to say would be to, can you see my slide now?
I cannot.
No,
No? Okay.
no.
Yeah, I did that wrong. The only other thing I wanted to say would be to, if you have a consignment item, like, dishes of china or something like that, take a picture of it, and the consignment stores can give you an idea by email without having people come in, because a lot of appraisals will charge you to come over to appraise the items.
Right. That's true.
So can you see this now?
Yes.
So I'm going to skip through so think about what you've got now based on what Claire is sharing. And then I am going to, this concludes this series of starting Dear Downsizing. I'm going to send out a quick little email, as I said, to start the 30-day declutter challenge. I'm going to try and do it too. And then I will let everybody know when we have a fall shredding event. I am thinking about some more sessions for the fall, even though I don't think we can get together yet. A lot of people are still hesitant to go to a group event and finding that. And I have connected with somebody who provides age-in-place services for seniors, kind of a one-stop shop, who had some very interesting services. So I may start to do a few of those things, because I think people are also interested in staying in their home as long as they can and trying to find resources around that, which it's hard to find. Sometimes when you start to look, it's just the information is scattered out there. So does that interest you?
Yes, that's very interesting. And thank you very much, Claire. I really enjoyed that.
Thank you,
Okay.
Claire. So that's it. Thank you very much for attending, and I will put this up on YouTube channel. So if you missed some of the sessions, we can go through that, and then Claire and will get me some information on booksellers, and we'll forward that to you, and Peter and Kay. Thank you very much.
We'd like to thank you for letting us have all this information. We appreciate it. And also thank you for sending the little e-handbook to us.
Oh, yes, I do have, yeah, I don't think everybody's got that. I do have an electronic version of a downsizing book with tips and tricks. So if anybody wants that, I can send it to you. I do have a few printed copies for people who, you guys are all electronic, but if you've got friends or family, I do have a few printed copies. Let me know if you want it. It's about 10 pages long. Thank
Okay.
you so much.
Thanks.
Thank
Sue.
you very much.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks. Thank you so much.